Hey everybody, welcome back to the Battle Buddy Podcast with your host, Keith McKeever here. Really excited to bring this guest on. If you are a Marine, you might want to sit up and pay attention. This guy has created something that you've been waiting for your whole life. Something you can actually eat, that you jokingly eat all the time, that probably will taste a lot better than real crayons. Okay, it will taste a lot better than real crayons. It's got white chocolate in it. It's going to be delicious. You're really going to want to get your hands on some of these. I'm really excited to talk to Frank. I've seen him grow this plan and get ready to launch here with this business, and it's absolutely awesome to see. And we're really excited to have him on here and talk about the struggles of creating something in such a unique business like edible crayons and turning it into actual reality, something you can actually eat. So like I said, the Marines out there, you can actually eat your crayons now and not have to worry about what the wax and the and the dyes in the crayons would do to your gut. So without further ado, let's roll.
Welcome to the Battle Buddy Podcast with Keith McKeever.
Hey, Frank.
Hey.
Eat one of the crayons. Already munching on some crayons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Caught me munching on some delicious crayons.
Oh, they sound delicious. Ever since the first moment I ever heard you talking in the Warrior Council when you introduced yourself about crayons ready to eat, and it's just like, wait, what? As an Air Force guy, I'm just like, crayons ready to eat. Like, seriously? Like, it's like somebody's actually making these? Like, you got to be kidding me, But no, it's reality, man. You are rocking and rolling and so close to actually being able to have these out and distributed and all that stuff. And I'll let you kind of get into that. But I'm just excited for all the Marines out there. Like, it is a dream come true. This is probably like a lifetime of Christmases at one time.
Yep.
And like I said just a minute ago in the intro, like, they can actually eat it and not get sick because, there's no wax and God knows what other things they actually put in crayons. I have no idea. But they can actually eat them. So welcome to the show, Frank. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what your military life growing up and military journey and all that stuff was.
First off, I want to say, Keith, thanks for having me here. Appreciate being on the show. It's great to be here. So just give you a little idea. I'm a country boy, redneck from the backwoods of Ohio. I grew up in the farm towns, coal mine, steel mill area. And it was growing up hunting, fishing, roaming the woods, going out and doing, weird, stupid, crazy things before there was the internet, before there were cell phones, and drinking out of the water hose and, swimming in the ponds that the sewer plant ran into and stuff like that. So, it was only fitting for me to decide to join the Marine Corps.
It's a natural fit, right?
Well, there's a lot of factors to me joining the Marine Corps. My birthday is on February 23rd. And if anybody understands anything about Marine Corps history, February 23rd was the flag raising of Iwo Jima. So let's just throw that out there. But no, it was, for me, the decision to join the military was kind of a tough one. I didn't have the greatest childhood growing up. And I had a lot of mentors that helped get me to learn a lot of the things that I knew when I was younger. Kept me out of the family life and kept me immersed into learning things, growing things, making things. I took wood shop in high school, so that was really beneficial. Working on the farms, always constantly building stuff and things like that. And I loved to draw. I loved it. I did art. I had my same art teacher from 5th grade all the way to my senior year. When I became a freshman, she became the high school teacher. And I literally threw away a full ride scholarship to the Pittsburgh Art Institute to join the Marine Corps. Yes.
That seems like an interesting choice. I wasn't ready for that bombshell right there. Okay, so why? What were you planning on doing, and why did you switch focus and go to the Marines then?
Well, I did not know I was getting the scholarship when I joined the Marine Corps. I joined the Marine Corps my summer year between junior and senior year, entered in the delayed entry program. So technically on my books, I've got, the delayed entry program the year prior, and I went in. I get back to high school, and here to find out, a couple months after school starts, I get a letter from Pittsburgh Art Institute that one of my artworks that was submitted in a contest, and I was granted a full ride scholarship. Did not know it was submitted. My art teacher submitted it for me. And I had a full ride scholarship to do fine arts, visual effects, and makeup art, because I was, doing stuff and different things in that, learning that. So airbrushing, drawing, and makeup art. And had to make a hard decision. So I went back to the guy I look up to. I still talk to him to this day. I call him Hooter. His nickname is Hooter. That's all we called him. His real name is Mark. And I'm like, Mark, I want to get out of here. We discussed this, get away from the things that, and everything, but I have this opportunity. And he gave me, he just laid it out for me. And he was like, ultimately, I got to make the decision. So I ended up, took a couple weeks, and it was a hard decision to turn down a 4-year full ride scholarship. Just being able to do everything, guaranteed job placements. It was there. But I knew if I stayed in that area, there was risk of me falling into the family history. And not knowing that family history at that time, just understanding the way my family life was, it was like, time to go out, see the world, explore different things, and see what life has to offer.
Well, at least you were wise enough to be able to recognize some things that are going on.
Yeah.
And realize that you need to get out.
Yeah. And later on in life, I figured out, what the things were, and, why it was a good thing that I didn't stick around. So I ended up, it was a really quick transition. I graduated high school June 1st of 1995. June 5th, took every little best bit I had, went up to MEPS. June 6th, I was at MEPS doing all the check-in. That evening, I was on a plane heading to South Carolina. Middle of the night, I landed my footprints on, and of course, anybody knows anything about Marine Corps history or military history, June 6th is D-Day. June 7th, my feet were on the yellow footprints. So it's like, not only the birthday factor, but June 6th, bombing at Pearl Harbor. I'm getting ready to prepare to get my, do my last swear in, or my almost last swear in to go to boot camp. So I joined the Marine Corps. And, one of the biggest things we get told whenever, by the recruiter is, one of the questions we get to ask is, how did the recruiter lie to you? Well, I signed up for Marine Corps Security Forces, not knowing I was infantry. So I go to boot camp, and whenever they ask you what your MOS is, and I tell them, he was like, the drill instructor was like, bullshit, you ain't your security forces, you're 0311, you're infantry. I'm like, what? It's not what I signed up for, drill, sir. It was like, bullshit, that's your primary MOS. Security forces is just a glorified fire watch. And I got stuck on fire watch for the next 2 weeks.
He wanted he wanted to send a message.
Yeah, straight 2 weeks of fire watch. That was that was a doozy. And that's when I learned to keep my mouth shut and do what I was told to do. And turned out, boot camp was kind of a breeze. Got out, went North Carolina, did my SOI training, did it for the infantry training. Then I went to Norfolk to do my security forces training. And now this is going to throw you also for a loop. Country boy from the backwoods of Ohio. I could not get 8th and I because I could not swim. I was 4th qual in boot camp. When I jumped off that 10-foot tower into that water, we jumped off the tower, the stripping pits, the high walls down to the stripping pits. You had like 20, 30 feet between you and the where you could walk. I learned how to swim underwater. Yeah, I got thrown in a sink or swim. I learned how to swim underwater. So when I jumped into that freaking pond, that pool, I'm underwater going at it. Next thing I know, I'm getting drug up, right? Getting yelled at, why what are you doing, recruit? I was like, this recruit's told to swim to the other end, sir. That's not how you swim. You're supposed to swim on top of it. This is the only way this recruit knows how to swim, sir. So I get put over with the guys that can't swim, and I learned how to do the elementary backstroke. So I get sent to Washington State, up at Bangor, Washington. I could not stand Washington State. I appreciate the opportunity, but I think I only lasted 10 months there before I was requesting to be transferred. Sitting on a dry dock, constantly in Gore-Tex, soaking wet, walking around, glorified fire watch every single shift for 4-hour shifts, sometimes 6-hour shifts. It was brutal. In the Puget Sound, getting rained on constantly. Going to PT, getting rained on constantly. I was like, no. So I requested to get transferred. And the Marine Corps stuck it to me. Knowing that I can't swim, they send me down to Alpha. Yeah, they send me down to Alpha Company 1-5 in Camp Pendleton. I check in. They tell me where I'm going, and I'm like, how is it that I'm attached to a boat company? I'm a 4th qual swim. You can thank your last command for that. That was the request of your last command. I'm like, I'm like, come on. I can't, I'm a 4th qual. I can barely swim. You're going to throw me in a boat out in the middle of the freaking ocean that I've never been into? Really? So yeah, I got stuck in boat company. That was fun. So out in the infantry, getting my feet wet, learning the ropes of the infantry and everything else, getting stuck out in the boat in the Zodiac, getting flipped over, trying to survive. And I learned really quickly on the first time they flipped it, hold on to that rope. Because whenever that thing flips over, hold on to that rope, and then you can be able to freaking pull yourself back up and have something to hold on to. When you can't swim in ocean waters and you don't know what's underneath of you, yeah, I'm making sure I'm staying up for dear life.
Because there's a bunch of stuff underneath you don't want to know about.
Yeah. And especially whenever you get up underneath of it, you got that gap of air, so you're holding on, right? And so the team has got to freaking get the boat flipped over and then start looking for everybody, right? So I figured out that, when I'm holding on, when they flipped it over, it was a little bit of struggle for them because guess what? They were pulling me up over. So when it flipped over, I landed in the boat too, into the Zodiac.
But then you were there to help, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I was the guy. I was
a vital part of the team at that point. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I was the guy to be able to, get him in. So that was the joy of not being able to swim, getting thrown into the ocean, flipping those Zodiac on purpose. Yeah.
So
that was
a joy. Learn how to swim on top of the water then?
Nope. Still don't know.
Still don't know how. Okay.
Still do not know how. I can do the elementary backstroke. That's about it. That's all you're going to get out of me. And I've got to pull up my house right now, and I haven't been in it yet because the weather, water's a little chilly. But so I ended up going to doing a 6-month deployment in Okinawa. Did that, and at this time I married, got kids, or got one kid. No, didn't have a kid at that time. No, sorry. Got married, young, got married to the first one that came along, moved her out and everything else. Anyhow, ended up getting on a 6-month deployment, came back, and all of a sudden we're getting I think it was 15 of us that got picked throughout the various platoons between 03s, 31s, 41s, all of us that's within the infantry in the platoons. And we were detached to the IMF, and we had no clue what was going on, what was happening. Not the whole platoon, not the whole company, the battalion was going, just select few were going, and we didn't know where. We found out a week before that we were getting sent over to Kuwait, and this was in February of '98. Another sad day of that was my 21st birthday year. And at 7:03 on February 23rd, I'm stepping foot onto a plane to go to Kuwait, a dry country. Okay.
I think we had some vastly different experiences at turning 21.
Yes.
I turned 21 right like a week before I went to boot camp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It
I
was
did
a
my
beast.
drinking and tech school right after. I
Oh,
caught
there
up.
you go. Yeah, there you go. So we go over to Kuwait, and I'm attached. He was general at the time, General Bowden. If anybody knows anything about Bowden, he is or was recently, not too long, I forget when he was, but he was the head of NASA. He was the one guy that was in charge of NASA. He was actually an astronaut. And I wish I still had my documentation. My last marriage, I lost all those. That's we won't go into that. Sad. My me book is no longer here. I do not have my me book no more. It's a sad day. But anyhow, so I go over to Kuwait, and if anybody has an understanding of it, there are cases where you go overseas and your DD-214 does not reflect foreign sea service. That was the case that I was in. So there was no foreign sea service on my DD-214. But I have a JMUC. And everybody knows what a JMUC is. It's a Joint Meritorious Unit Citation. That means I've worked with foreign units in one shape or form overseas. But I have no foreign sea service on my DD-214, right? So back in 98, they were trying to get the inspectors over to Saddam's inspect his nuclear weapons. That's what we were attached to. So we're over there, come back 98. Couple, in between my deployments, my daughter was born. Fast forward to getting back, and then I go to recruit Edson Range to coach recruits on the rifle range. So going up there, being able to educate people on shooting. I was already an expert. Get up there, learn how to be able to coach recruits. And when us Marines re-qualify for the rifle range in Pendleton, that's where they would come to be able to shoot. So we'd oversee them and things like that. And that lasted from the beginning, say about the end of 98, beginning 99 till 2001. And then I ended up getting transferred to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, out to Golf Company 22. While I was there, anybody knows anything about 2001, 9/11 happened. And that's when everything we were training for just got real. It's now on our soil. And, immediately, and it was funny how that situation had happened is as soon as I got out there, I'm learning I'm going back to California for 30 days. In the Marine Corps, we do CAX, which is Combined Arms Exercise. And they sent us to 29 Palms. And 29 Palms is not a fun place. It's desert as desert gets, right? So immediately, shortly thereafter, I get there in July, I think it was, and October, and we're going over. Now, we were slated to return on September 11th. On September 8th, we're being told our flight has now been changed to September 10th. Like, okay, whatever's military, that is. So we get back September 10th. And of course, when you're a married, personnel and you get back from deployment, you don't have to report early in the day. The day doesn't start till later on. And me being the sergeant, me being in charge, I went in early. I didn't have to be in there until 1200. I was in there. I was rolling in through the gate whenever the radio broke through of a plane had just hit the building. Well, they didn't know it was a plane at that time. One tower was on fire. There was an explosion. And next thing I know, I get through the gate. 2 cars behind me get to the gate, and they're closing off the gate. Nobody's entering through, nothing. Driving through, all of a sudden, I'm hearing, that just as I'm pulling into the barracks, a plane had actually hit the second tower. Get up in there, get into the barracks. Everybody's just messed around the common area around the TV, and we're just watching this, and we're just all in devastation of what's happening. But yet we're all on edge. We're in North Carolina. It's like, what is going on? And then we're hearing about the other plane situations, and it's like immediately, we're getting, we're getting to the armory. We're getting geared up. We're getting situated. We're getting ready to, defend, the base, because now we're hearing the Pentagon's getting, going after the Pentagon.
Yeah, who knows what's next at that point? I mean, we were all the whole world was in a mass confusion.
Yeah,
anything was possible.
Exactly. And when you start taking a looking at the factors, you've got New York. Now you got the Pentagon. Now you got Camp Lejeune. It's like, are we next? Or what's happening? You know what I mean? You don't know what, we had no clue. So we're literally geared up, locked and loaded. And we were locked down in the base for 40, almost 3.5 days. Locked on base, just on edge, ready to, at a moment's notice, anything going on. And the news started coming out, of everything, and, the plane getting taken down, the phenomenal job, and the people the civilians and those that were on that plane that took that plane down to make sure that it didn't go anywhere else in Pennsylvania. Just is a phenomenal, it's just an unbelievable situation, and knowing everything that's going on, and knowing that we came back a day early from CAX, it makes you question, what was the reason behind that? Years later, I was like, why did we come back a day early? Why were we not in the air, on September 11th? It gives you a question.
Yeah, it's either, something to question or a heck of a coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. So, we, it's just like, here we go. And of course, in the infantry, you're constantly running and pounding and stuff like that. So now we're a couple months later, we're training to get ready to deploy. We know that we're going deployed. We're going somewhere. Our unit was slated to go to Afghanistan, and we were on an easy 7-mile hump. And all of a sudden, I started getting sharp pain through my back. Back was hurting really bad, pressing through, and I could see the LZ. I could see the end of it. And our platoon, our company decided that we were going to end up humping back. We weren't going to take the 5 tons back. And all of a sudden, I just dropped and collapsed. And I couldn't feel from the waist down. I was basically paralyzed from the waist down for 8.5 hours. I had a pinched nerve, both hip displacements, and 2 discs that were messed up. So we're going through this whole thing. And now I'm a liability. And they wouldn't let me deploy. And I'm fighting it, and I'm arguing it. I had spent time in that sandbox over in Kuwait. I had spent time, there, seeing what it's like, dealing with the people, dealing with the situations. It's like I wanted to go. I knew I would be able to have an opportunity to save lives. I had knowledge. I had information. And it just wasn't in my cards. So I had an option. Go sit behind a desk or get an early out. I looked at my kids. My marriage wasn't the greatest in the world. And I had to get out for my kids. So I got out in December of 2002. And, I did one of the common things we do in the military when we get out. My transition out was not the greatest information. It was taps, and it was sign this, check this box, and go check in this location, turn this gear in, and get out, and you're done, because, we got more pertinent stuff going on. And I went back to Ohio.
I don't think that's changed a whole lot over the years. It's still basically the same. When I got out in 2011, it was I was Air Force, but when I got out and went through that, it was like, hey, get a LinkedIn profile, dust your resume off, do this, do that. And like you said, all the other stuff to turn your gear in, and that's about it.
Yeah. And
they don't tell you about a lot of the other things that you're going to have to face as a civilian, or the actual mental toll of transition.
Well, one of the things that, I realized later on is when we're in the military, and a lot of people are going to be like, I can't believe he just said this, but it's if you dig down deep in the truth of this, while we're in the military, we're in a socialist situation. We are provided 3 meals a day, We're provided clothing, our uniforms. We're provided room and shelter. If you're married, you're provided funding to be able to purchase that there. You're on base. You have everything that you need. So if you look at it, the military is kind of like a socialist type entity. We're
I
getting
can
a
see your
paycheck.
points. Yeah.
You know what I
Definitely.
mean? So, yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I mean, a lot of people talk about how the military is not paid well, and they're not. Don't get me
No.
wrong; they could be paid more. But when you look at the totality, and could go off on a tangent on this, but the medical care could be better. But your
Yep.
medical's taken care of, your house is taken care of, you get a housing allowance, you get cost of living allowance if you're overseas. So, you look at the base pay. I think I was looking the other day, like an E1 right now is like 22,000, something like that a year. It's not a lot.
No.
But you look into some of the other things, you get the free room in the barracks and this and this and this and this. It adds up to something. The perception is different, I guess I should say. It looks like they only make this amount, but when you take into account the free medical, the free house, things like that, there's other benefits that don't have a solid monetary value, but they do
Yeah.
add up.
Yeah,
It could be definitely could be better.
exactly. You get 3 square meals a day. You go in the morning, you get your chow. You go to lunch, you get your chow. You go afternoon chow. You ain't paying for it. You know what I mean? And so it gives you with that explanation there, it gives you to when you get out, you're in shell shock. Now you've got to figure out how you're going to pay for this, how you're going to afford this, how you're going to get these things, where you're going to get this at. And when somebody goes from, just like in my situation, days after graduating high school, going to the Marine Corps and spending 7.5 years there, and then now, I've got a family that I've got to take care of. I got kids to take care of. I got a house. I got bills. I got to, this, everything else. You're in survival mode. What am I going to do? What is going to happen? When are you going to get this? And so I went work 2 jobs, try to make ends meet, pay for things, get things situated. And then you throw a divorce on top of that, court fees, attorney fees, fighting for custody, all these and everything. And it throws you into it. And when you move back to a small town, from where you're from in that area, there's not a military support. You've got the Legions, you got the VFWs, but it's a bunch of old guys sitting around drinking beers. And, it wasn't my cup of tea. I'm not going to sit around and waste my day. I've got to be doing something. So I stepped away from the military aspect all in general. I didn't label myself as it. It was like, I had worked at the county VA office for a little bit, but it wasn't always all cracked up to be. And I was just like, nope, go out and work in the world. And I got in the world of automotive industry. Went and worked at Advanced Auto, LKQ, life, relationships, failed. And finally, when my kids were old enough, I did one of the stupidest things anybody could do. Is in 2013, I decided to pack up a 4-bedroom house on a 1/4-acre lot, 2 stories with a basement, privacy fence, you name it. It was a nice house, and put it into storage, pack up my kids because they couldn't have a normal life. They couldn't go anywhere, couldn't enjoy things without their biological mother creating issues and problems and always being there. I had to have, police and security, programmed into their phones. I had to give them phones at young ages because it was detriment to them. And then I made a decision to get out of Ohio. I flipped a coin. It was either Paris, Kentucky, or it was San Diego, California. Paris, Kentucky was a selfish thing because I wanted to go hunting, fishing, and just see things and stuff like that. And hopefully the kids would be able to survive. But San Diego was the reasoning is all the seasons are here if you go and see it. You can go drive up and hit the mountains and hit the snow. You can drive and go hit the desert. We got the rain every occasional. You got the water to go out to the beaches and give them a chance to broaden their horizons and experience different things. So coin flipped us out here, packed up the house, put it in storage, packed in the suitcases, 1-way ticket, $4,000, landed in San Diego, no job, no vehicle, didn't know anybody, nothing. Just landed here and got a hotel and hit the ground running. I got involved in a couple programs and used my veteran status, and ended up ran into a person that I looked at her and I was like, no, that ain't her. Lo and behold, it was. I hollered out her name. She answered. It was one of the guys that I served with in base housing. We were in the same unit. He was in he was an 0331. I think he was. He was a machine gunner. And we lived in the same base housing. They helped, my ex-wife at that time, my wife, she was at that time, get established in base housing and while we're on deployment and stuff like that. So, I knew her, and it was them. And they didn't go back to San Francisco like I thought they had done when they got out. And talked to them. And I didn't tell them, that I was struggling. Didn't know how much longer I was going to stay in a hotel, what was going to happen. And then they offered me to come stay with them. So we went and stayed with them out here in Lakeside, and started hitting the ground running. That was February 27th. And within May, I was working at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And in June, we got a place of our own. So I took that military mentality of hit the grounds running, make sure you get things happen, mission accomplishment, and, make it happen. So
yeah, you got a big mission there. You got to take care of the family and get yourself established. You're right, because that's like a crazy, almost like a crazy thing. Just sell stuff and move across the country, not knowing really anybody, and that's a lot of risk. But it's not unlike the other risks that you're taking, like your newest, one of your newest business ventures.
Well, that's it. It's life has taught me, things about risk. And so I worked at O'Reilly, and I just got tired of working in corporate America. And I've always had that mentality. I just don't like I'm working for somebody else. I'm like, this is killing me. And it shows you that I think the rate right now, I'd have to double check it. Don't quote me on this. I think it's like 40%, if not higher, of entrepreneurs are veterans. We get out of the military, we have an entrepreneurial mindset, a mission oriented, goal oriented, make things happen. So I was just like, I had to do this. So I got tired of working corporate America, cashed out my 401k, and I started Kamikaze Woodworks. I went, like I said before, wood shop, worked on the farms. You always made stuff. So I'm like, this is what I knew. So I went and bought a bunch of old woodworking tools. Some of the stuff you can see back here.
Yep, you can see it. Yep.
And started just making stuff. And it was doing pretty decent. It was enough to pay the bills. Wasn't nothing to scream over or go out to, go celebrate on. But I was able to do something that I loved and I enjoyed. It was therapeutic for me. It was something that, whenever you get in the, your mind gets going, you get into those depression moments and thoughts, and it's therapy. If anybody that is in, thinking about it or, wants to find something to do, find a skill, find a task to be able to help, deal with those things and keep you busy. So I started the woodworking, and my kids were involved in high school activities, photography, band, choir. And so I ended up getting asked to make props for the local high school marching band and for the local color guard. Well, in the mix of making a prop for the color guard, they just needed a giant picture frame that they could jump in and out of. And was like, I'm not going to make this big elaborate ordeal. I'm not going to paint this thing. They just needed to prop up, stand up, put legs on the back of it so it stays upright, and we're golden, right? So took a picture, blew it up, print out multiple sheets, glued it on there, cut out, the edges that looks like the shape of the frame, the nice design. And paint wasn't going to work. When you put paint on paper, it's not going to work that well. Marker wasn't going to work because when they bleed, you can't blend them black in the same color. Got to change markers. So the only next best thing that I knew was, okay, my art background was crayons stay the consistent color from the beginning to the end. Depends on how hard you push, right? So if you keep the same consistent pressure, you're going to get the same consistent colors, right? Now, mind you, when the newest idea came about, the reason it came about is I switched colors and put a crayon in my mouth and literally started gnawing on it. And that's when the light bulb clicked in that I started recently, a few years ago, seeing memes and videos of actual Marines eating crayons. I didn't know why. I didn't understand it. When I got out of the Marine Corps, we were not called crayon eaters. We were called jar heads, ground pounders, bullet sponges, leathernecks. I had no clue.
Yeah, I don't really know where the whole Crayon Eater thing came from, but it's been around for maybe 10, 15 years, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then the
Came
memes
out of
started.
nowhere.
Yeah, it was like they started happening. Like I think memes were, I started noticing around 2015, 16. But really, when you start research and look into it, when you look up Crayon Eater, and you're seeing all these things, it's like holy snikey. So if you do a Google search for Crayon Eater, you're going to see some funny stuff. So, and then it hit me. I was like, is there truly an edible crayon? So I spent 3 months looking on and off. And then I finally figured it out. And I was like, okay, I know nothing about chocolate. I have no clue. But whenever I was a store manager, when I took over as a store manager at O'Reilly Auto Parts, when the store manager left to move out of state and I took over, one of the team members brought in these homemade peanut butter truffles that were better than any Reese cup that I have ever tried. We found out
good.
Oh, it was
I
good.
love Reese's. Yeah.
It was good. So we found out that she had went to school to be a pastry chef for a few semesters before life hit and she had went into the workforce. So I had that in the mental Rolodex, right? And it's like, all right, good to go. So when this idea sparked, she was the one I was calling. I called her and I'm like, Cassandra, I know you like to make stuff out of chocolate and food and pastry. She's like, yes. Have you ever heard or have you ever done anything with making chocolate right? She's like, no. Like, do you think you could figure it out? She said, I will try. Not a problem. September 12th of 2017, she sends me a video of her actually making chocolate right. It was the biggest smile I had on my face at that time. And it was like, we got it. We figured it out. Now it was in between her working and me pushing the woodworking business, trying to figure out how we're going to do this. So I know nothing about food. I'm learning a little bit about business. She's not familiar with the business side, but she knows the food, but not really into the large scale of the commercial side and everything else. So
I think a lot of people could find themselves in that situation of just, man, you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly. So we're going through this, and we know that after trial and error, that a regular size crayon was not going to stand up. It was not going to work. When you get the chocolate, your hands get warm, it breaks too easy, and it melts too quickly. So we had to figure out, what are we going to do? Then we started realizing we needed to make sure that it was distinctful, that it was not your average crayon, and we got the max amount of chocolate we could get out of it and to give it some durability. So we started researching. Then we found our molds, which we currently are in, which gave us the shape, and we will continue to use, is a triangle shaped chocolate crayon. And there are 3 reasons for that. The first one was, of course, the durability and giving you more chocolate. The second reason is it's got a flat surface. It will not roll off the table, so you will not lose your food and therefore dirty your food. So a child will be able to pick it up and, want to eat it and everything else, because parents are like, that's on the floor, don't eat it. Now,
Yeah,
us
there's
Marines,
a 5-second rule, shoot.
Well, us Marines got a 5-minute rule. So come on now.
That's it? Just 5?
Yeah, 5 minutes. But, and then the third reason is we wanted parents, guardians, NCOs, staff NCOs, higher ranking officials to inform the lower ranking, military members. These are the ones that are okay to eat. The regular crayons, not okay to eat.
Yeah,
right?
It's going to mess your gut up. or kill you, or who knows what else
They're non.
ingredients.
They say they're non-toxic and you can eat them.
Yeah,
With
I'm
no
sure there's
problem,
some
but
ramifications there somehow.
yeah, they'll
You
stop you
actually
up pretty
digest
well,
it.
probably.
Yeah, I bet they
Yeah.
would.
So that's why we went with the shape we went. And I had been in contact with a marine wrapper, and I had got a hold of a wood lathe, and I spun him out a 21-inch wooden crayon. And I made him a California shaped board with a bulldog bottle opener on it. And I made it for him. He finally came down to San Diego I got a hold of him in October of 2018 when I noticed he was down here. He was starting up, well, he was the lead in starting a new chapter down here in San Diego of the Bunker Labs Veteran Residence Program. So if you're a new entrepreneur or starting out entrepreneur, you have a business going on, I suggest you look into it because you get 6 months free space, free office building, 24 access, networking events. If you got a podcast or you need to have meetings, they have conference rooms that you can, block out, set a time, go in there, everything at your disposal. You have education, you have networking events. So it paid off because whenever I met with him, he was doing that. I got invited to their muster, the launch muster, and got to walk around network. And the way this came about is I dropped the crayons off to him literally a week before, or I dropped his crayon off to him a week before, and we were talking. And he was like, "What else you got going? I know you got something else going on. You have to. You're a Marine. You be doing something." I'm like, "Well, and I played it off as like kind of doubting it. I'm like, I got this idea of actually making, turning the Marine Corps joke into reality of us being crayon eaters and making chocolate crayons." He went ballistic. So I got invited to the muster, went down there, and I brought some with me. And after the network event, he let me upstairs because you have to have key access to get into the rooms. And he's cleaning up. So Mike Sowers of Forged Clothing and Samantha Bonilla, and I probably butchered her name. I always butcher her last name. Sorry, Sam, if you see this. We're up there, and Sam says to Mike, "Remind me before we go to the next photo shoot, we buy some crayons." I did not know who she was. I knew of Forged Clothing. I now know who the guy is that owns it. And I'm like, okay, I'm pretty, I'm like, this is cool. So I'm like, do I take a chance? Do I say something? Do I wait for Raymond? What do I do? I'm like, all right, screw it. I'm like, why do you need crayons before your next photo shoot?
Question that I can see why you'd be nervous to ask that.
Yeah. And especially
weird answers.
Yeah. And especially being, a beautiful female and gathering from the conversation that she was a model. So I'm like, well, why would you need crayons? She's like, well, I'm a Marine. And, the joke, Marines being crayon eaters. And I'm always getting people commenting of them, calling, how could a crayon eater be so beautiful? I can't believe you're a crayon eater, or, this and that. And I'm like, I got something better for you. I'm a Marine as well. How about I let you try the first edible colorable chocolate crayon? And she just lit up. And I pulled them out, let her try them, and she immediately started coloring without hesitation, put it in her mouth and bit into it and was just loving it. On the second bite, she's got her phone out, she's recording it, and she sends it to all her other female Marine models. And they're like, yes, we need these. She was like, can you get me some of these? I'm like, I haven't even done anything with these. I haven't started this as a business. I have no clue what I'm doing, how I'm going to do it. I have no pack. I have nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like,
was that like literally the first batch? Like,
yes, that was literally the first official batch.
And she ate all the samples?
No, she didn't eat them all because
right.
I had some set aside so I can show them to Raymond.
So that was smart. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, sure. I will get you some. Not a problem. So Raymond comes up. We're talking. Next thing I know, I'm being invited 2 weeks later to a meeting where they get around, they talk different things and have, presentations or, learn about business or learn about other businesses. So I was on the second half and they asked me to pitch my business. I'm like, Raymond, I don't even know if this is a business. I have no clue what I'm doing. I haven't started. I've never pitched anything. He was like, just talk about what you're doing. Little bit in depth of what you talked about with me, and just come in there and spill it. We'll get you into a business. I'm like, all right, good to go. I'm not a social media guy. I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, all right. So we bust out about 10, 12 batches, 5 crayons each, wrapped up in wax paper. And I go there. And next thing I know, we are sit down, I talk and I pitch them, and I set up the Instagram, I set up the Facebook, I set up a website. I quickly threw up a WordPress website and just, okay, here we go. That I don't know what I'm doing. I took pictures of what we had, printed out the first ever concept of our packaging, just a flat sheet, just the front of it. Just printed out, stuck it there, did pictures, put it up on the website. I didn't archive that website. I should have for historical purposes, but I was like, yeah, no, I'm like, it was like, So, we go there and we only had basically family. A few of my family, her family following us on social media. We had 11 people. This was September 12th of 2018. Literally 1 year from the day that Cassandra actually sent the video of her making chocolate right. So you see the resemblances of dates and the iconics here of things, repeating themselves in different chains of events. It's weird concept. So now we are sitting here going through this, and literally within the 4 or 5.5 hours that I'm there at that meeting, our Instagram has blown up over to 200 people because they're all sharing this and tagging us and doing these videos. Everybody there sharing it was like, uh-oh, we're onto something here. So I go back to Cassandra. We're talking, we're going through this, we're figuring out what we're going to do. And then we came up with our first package design. We printed it out on cardstock, cut it out, folded it, glued it, and created our first packaging, which was a crayon box. Right? It was like, all right, here we go. That was after we started shipping, before we knew we needed packaging. We decided, okay, let's try this. So we were going to wrap them up in wax paper, throw them up on a website, and we were going to ship them. We made about 110 orders within a week and a half to get stopped by a phone call by the county that we are in violation of umpteen million permits, regulations, certificates, codes, everything.
Leave it to the government to put their foot down on some stuff.
We almost got fined $10,000.
Oh.
Luckily, the director was nice enough to give us a warning, explain to us the process. She thought the idea was cool as can be, was glad that, we were creating something, walked us through the steps, and help us develop the packaging, do our ingredients, get everything, made sure it was made in a home kitchen, all this stuff. So we got that. That was in March of 2019. So now we're going to events. And before that, we were doing events under the radar. And we met Stephen Coons of the Veteran Tribe and the Warrior Council because he was at an event called Clever Talks. They had pen up on a stage, and we got invited to be able to be there as walking around. And I had crayons in my box and a cooler and a lunch cooler in my backpack, going around and testing people out. I had, I met Donnie O'Malley from Vet TV there, and I met Stephen Coons. I met Flossie Hall. I met, I got to see Jocko, got to meet, I think Evans from Black Rifle Coffee was there. Got all these people. I got to meet them and give them little tries and samples and stuff like that. And then we moved, and I jumped back. Sorry about that. And then we're back to March, where we get to certification. We find out we were doing things illegally for the longest time. So we get official. We start doing events, doing pop-ups, getting involved in, different events and things. And then we realize the name that we came up with this, and we had to modify it. And I haven't told you the name yet. I know I haven't, and I apologize for that. I'm giving you the run to this because I want you to have an understanding of what it took us to get the business, and what struggles we had for it. I was struggling on trying to figure the name out before we had did the launch, right before I went and met, along with whenever I had met with the Marine Rapper. And I was talking to a buddy of mine that I met on social media, who's not a veteran. And we were talking about meals ready to eat and stuff like that. And then he was like, I'm like, and then we started talking about the idea. And that's whenever I told it to him. I'm like, I got this idea and trying to figure it out, and told him what it was. And he was like, why don't you just call it Crayons Ready to Eat? And I'm like, wait a minute.
Then the light bulb hits you and you're like, duh, there's nothing
Like,
else to name it.
There's nothing else to name it. I'm like, military joke to reality, Crayons Ready to Eat. And that's when we knew that we had to emulate something like the MREs of my era. But all I knew was crayons in a coloring box, right? So later on in 2019, we knew we had to get better packaging because we were getting more momentum. We were getting more things happening. And then we decided that we were going to start sourcing out and try to figure out where we're going. And hold on one second. Then we was like, okay, we got to do something. Started researching, started digging in, figuring out what we're going on. The time that it took us to hand cut, fold, and glue 200 boxes was 2 days in between everything else. And we're like, this is killing us.
That's a lot of tedious work right there.
Yes, it is. So we're like, okay, we got to figure this out. So when we found our newest packaging, it reduced 2 days worth of work to 45 minutes. And we knew that we were right onto something when we figured out now it looks like the father of it, the Meals Ready to Eat. Now Crayons Ready to Eat has its own distinct look. And then we came out with the pouches. Our pouches are like, design, Ziploc seal for refreshments, but you probably won't need it because you're probably going to eat them all by the time you're done with it.
There's a good chance of that, yeah. Pretty good chance, yeah.
Zip it, rip it open,
yeah.
And it's much more cleaner, visible to see, everything on there. So we went with the pouch. So it now truly looks like a meal ready to eat, which all military veterans, active duty reservists, even mill spouses knows what a meals ready to eat is. Here we go. So we're getting things lined up. The NRA calls us and wants us to have our product at their national conference. That's how big we blew up and how far we got. We had to turn down their order because we could not be able to ship our product. It killed us. Then we started looking to get into a commercial kitchen. What do we got to do to get a commercial kitchen? All of a sudden, I started noticing a decline in my woodworking in December. It's like, all right, what's going on? January, started looking. Decline in everything. And I'm like, this ain't good. Something's not right. And I'm like, I got to find a part-time job and still be able to do this. So I started looking for work. And then my old job found out I was looking, called me to go back to work for them, back at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And we couldn't get anywhere traction. The kitchens, the ones we were finding were either vegan or they were the drive was going to end up pushing the price point on our boxes to where we were only going to getting like 15% markup at the price point we were selling. We were selling for and we still plan on selling for $9.99. And it's like, whenever you're only making a 15%, markup, it's like you can't survive off that. It's like, what do we do? Then we was like, okay, maybe we got to get in, figure this out. So we started stepping back and I went to work. And then all of a sudden, March hits. COVID is now a thing. It's being talked about more. I never paid attention to the news media. It's all on my social media. It's on my phone popping up. was like, uh-oh. We get a notice from the county that we need to stop production, guidelines, this and everything else. So all of 2020, we have no footage, no proof, more proof of concept, more people using our product, anything. We're shut down. I'm going to work. Then all of a sudden, Clubhouse comes along, a audio drop-in app to where there's no showing your face like we are now. It's your voice, and you're able to express, and talk, and people that understand communication, which a lot of our youth and a lot of us were missing that in 2020. You can tell a lot by somebody's voice. You can tell their passion, their demeanor, their, how they're doing just by hearing their voice. It's why in the military community, a lot of us some have went to, let's do 22 push-ups, but some of us have went to, let's call somebody. Don't do something that's going to benefit you. Do something that's going to benefit somebody else. Physically call them. Reach out to somebody. Our youth today is in their phones, not calling up the phone. And when they call you, they're like, saying these little acronyms, OMG and JK. And, they're not talking full sense. Their communication skills are not, there. They're texting communication. It's like, really? So
it's definitely different. That's for darn sure. And it'd be interesting to see how this last year and all the weird stuff that's gone on, shapes communication. But
yeah, so Clubhouse comes along, and right now it's only for iPhone users, which I'm an iPhone user. I switched several years ago. I was on the dark side many, many years ago. I swore by Android, but
I'm on Android, but I have an iPad. That's how I listen.
So I just got I just got tired of having to pull the battery out and restart that thing all the time. So that's why I switched to the iPhone. Anyhow, I digress. So I'm sitting there listening to this, and I got in there a couple nights when I first started, beginning of January, in the evenings, and I was like, you know what, this is something that I can pop in one ear and answer the phone on the other ear at work. So I'd listen and listen and listen and listen, and learning stuff and hearing these guys. And I was jumping into the big rooms with these high rollers, money makers, and these guys that are, making a exorbitant amount of money. And I was like, so I tried to reach out to a couple of them. They said, hey, send a DM, we'll talk, we'll see what we, give you some pointers. So I talked to them, and they basically wanted to change my whole story and fit the narrative and the gist behind it. And they didn't understand how I thought or how I talked. And that told me they don't understand us as the military, us as veterans.
It's a disconnect between corporate America and veterans anyway. But
yeah, and mill spouses, they deal with a lot more than we deal with ultimately, because we're gone, we're over there, our lives are on the line, we're doing things. Now they have to take care, they have to keep things in order, they have to keep their own sanity, they have to keep the sanity of the kids, they have to pay the bills, they have to take care of the house, they have to, they have to do a lot of things, and they have to sit there and be worried about your ass out there freaking, something going wrong, something happening, even if it's in stateside training evolutions. How many times have we had accidents during training evolutions?
There's a handful every year, unfortunately.
Yeah. So you've got all these things, and it's like, okay, so they don't understand us. So I was kind of active in the Vetrapreneur tribe. I was sitting there because I had met Steven many years ago, but I really wasn't active. I didn't know about it. So one day I decided, I found this club on Clubhouse called Veterans Network. And I'm like, ooh, that sounds interesting. So I'd go in and listen to a couple of them. And I was like, everybody's talking mastermind in these other groups. We don't have that here in the veteran community that I know of. I had no clue. I'm like, what if because I want to learn how to do things. I want to learn about business. And they always say, if you don't know how to do it, find somebody that can help you, or find somebody to get you the answer, right?
Absolutely.
So I get this brainy idea. I'm going to go into Clubhouse. I'm going to start a club under Veterans Network that says Veteran Entrepreneur Mastermind, and see who shows up. Like, all right, Cool. Good to go. So that was like right at the end, the last Saturday in January. Did it for like an hour and a half, maybe. This guy by the name of Eric Ranks jumps in. And we're talking. And I'm trying to figure it out. I'm like, there's no masterminds. There's this and that and everything else. And Eric's like, well, are you part of the Veteran tribe on Facebook? I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm there. He was like, you not pay attention? I'm like, no, not really. He was like, Steve and Lane actually have what's called the Warrior Council, right? I'm like, no. I'm like, all right. Starts telling me about it. So I go check it out, and I signed up. That following Wednesday or Thursday in the morning, I'm on a Zoom call with a bunch of cool freaking people.
Oh, thanks, man. You consider me cool?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, awesome, Frank.
Yeah, you're in there.
You can be my friend now.
Yeah, sweet. So I'm like, alrighty. I get this. I like this. I see where this is going. So I'm like, I'm going to do a week 2 of the freaking club. I'm going to kind of structure it like I just learned in this first ordeal. What do you got going on? What's your successes? What do you need help with? But not do the extra stuff that we do in there. I'm like, all right. So I jumped over, did it on a week 2. I had Eric, I had DP, I had Liz, I had Lisa, I had Nalia, I had Brian, I had Joey from the Mobile Cigar Lounge, who is phenomenal. If you don't know Joey from the Mobile Cigar Lounge, got to check him out.
He's a funny dude.
Yeah. So that room went on for 6.5 hours. Now, my business is not a side hustle. My business was actually converted to an LLC thanks to the knowledge of Joey. Thanks to the Warrior Council, I was connected with somebody to get a business plan and a pitch deck done. Thanks to Clubhouse, I met the owner of Fund the First, Robert Garland, who has a crowdfunding platform that is different than any other one. Most of the other, and that's why I never started it, because most of the other crowdfunding platforms are, you don't get your money until you make your goal or exceed your goal. They take an exorbitant amount of high percentage on it. You campaign only runs for a certain amount of time. With Fund the First, they only took a set amount to give you the max amount as possible. So you're still getting a good chunk of what you're getting. They work with you with PR and marketing and everything else. They walk you through the steps. There's no end date on your crowdfunding. They use ID Me to verify military, law enforcement, and their spouses and their dependents to be able to use the platform. And I can start requesting money at 30 days to start using to put into my business. It was like a no-brainer. So I got on there, boom, boom, boom. He's talking about it. I get on there and I set it up and I sent an email. I need help because I don't understand this. I'm trying to figure it out. He helped walk me through it. I watched a couple videos on YouTube, how to use iMovie to figure out the movie that we have on there, put it up there. And 6 hours later, the crowdfunding is done. With his support active, boom. It's like, that was easy. Speaking of that was easy.
That was easy.
Right?
Yep.
So I go through this whole thing and it's like, alrighty then. So, and that was all in one day. LLC, business code, business consult, to write the business plan, and getting crowdfunding set up. One day between freaking Clubhouse, Warrior Council. You tell me that's not powerful.
No, it's extremely powerful. And I told you last week in the Warrior Council, like I have nothing to do with your business, but to have heard every week updates and things that are going on, it's just so awesome to see a veteran business just take off and just explode, and these connections and all these things that are going on. And it's just really cool to see, like, just kind of from the sidelines, just like it's sometimes we just don't see enough success. We don't see enough people succeed, and we don't encourage people enough sometimes. We're telling them, how proud we are people is succeeding. It's awesome that you had this idea, and you've obviously hit a lot of bumps in the road. some from the government, some from other things, but there's a trend here of just networking.
Yep.
It's just meeting the right people at the right time, and, not really saying no and just going to these events and just talking to people. And there's a lot of power in that. And I think everybody who joins the Warrior Council, shameless plug for it, I think all of us have something that we get out of it. I joined last October, and I immediately, I just needed for my business, which is real estate. I feel like after a long year, I just needed to recenter my mind, get myself back on track, some accountability, some things like that. I immediately had it because that next week, Stephen and Lane were asking me, okay, so what'd you do in this last week? Did you get those things accomplished? Did you do that? And it did. It just immediately in the first couple of weeks, I just narrowed that focus back down.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed. And everybody has a different thing that they get out of it. And it's awesome.
Yeah. And, exactly. It's so I get the Warrior Council, I get the clubhouse, and boom, within that week, it was the structure is holy, unbelievable. And then from there, just talking with people, getting things connected. I wouldn't have this hat if it wasn't for the Warrior Council, JD. I now have patches listed up on our website that, JD, Southpaw Laser Concepts that's Southpaw Laser Concepts. It is correct. I hope I said that right.
It is. Yep.
That
I've got 2 of his hats hanging on my bookshelf right there.
Yeah. And we got patches now on our website that we're selling because of him. It's now we're doing business where we're collaborating. And I started doing that collaboration in the early years of the business whenever I found a Marine veteran-owned T-shirt company that does TGV printing, and we got our T-shirts done. They did our T-shirts. That's who does our T-shirts. So I learned the collaboration and that ordeal from that, but now I'm seeing, getting it here. And it's all right, we got this going. And then all of a sudden, now I'm getting on podcasts like yours. This is the 5th one that I've been on so far. And in that time period, now this is February 9th. The following week, I'm getting asked to be on podcast. Every time I go in the clubhouse, I cannot go in a room and listen. If there's somebody up there that has known me or interacted with me, I'm getting pulled up and asked to talk about Crayons Ready to Eat, talk about this fabulous idea that I've got going on. And it's okay, here we go.
It's crazy. I was telling you that before we started. I'm because we're both so, almost always in the same rooms or bouncing back and forth, sometimes following each other or whatever. And it's crazy. As soon as you pop in a room, everybody's like, hey, stop. Frank's here. They know somebody and they're like, hey, you're a Marine. You got to talk to Frank. Let's get Frank up here, man. He's making crayons. And, just the excitement. It's whoa, it's crazy. Yeah. It's got to be crazy from your perspective to just be constantly. It's good for it's good publicity, but
it is. It's phenomenal. Right now we've raised $6,750 on our crowdfunding, not only of our own pushing, but people from Clubhouse. So we get through here at the Clubhouse. Next thing I know, a week later, Task and Purpose, military-oriented website, is asking to do an article on us. Military.com is asking to do an article on us, which landed us on Military Times, which landed us on Marine Times. Army Times, it got shared to. That got shared to New York Daily News. Veteran Magazine picked it up. Now Veteran Magazine wants to do a full article on us. Popular Airsoft tagged us on there. Okay, not a problem. Here we go. Then I start talking with people. I get with Mike from Blazing Star Barbecue Sauce. I'm trying to, now I want to get into a co-packer. Mike from Blazing Star Barbecue Sauce. We start talking. If you don't know who he is, look him up. Instagram, TikTok, phenomenal dude. And I'm waiting for his barbecue sauce to get shipped here to me so I can try it. But everything, sounds really good. And he tells me, you got to get a hold of Whole Brain Consulting. and explains to me what CPG is. I didn't know what CPG was. I had no clue. This, like I said, I'm learning everything.
I have no idea what it is.
Consumable packaged goods. That's what I'm doing. So I get in there. I start talking to this guy. I talk to him. He gives me co-packers instead of charging me an arm and leg. He gives me a link, gives me connections to some co-packers. So now I'm talking to co-packers. 3 weeks into this thing, and this whole start from the LLC to now this 3 weeks in. It's like, holy crap. And then all of a sudden, I need an idea. Got another idea pops in. We already have coloring sheets that you can download for free on our website of our mascot, Lance Corporal Crunch. Mind you, Lance Corporal Crunch is hand-drawn originally by a phenomenal artist by the name of Ben Cantwell. Go check him out. If you go look on our Instagram pages or anything, you'll see he's tagged in there. Phenomenal artist. So we created our mascot. Had to be a Marine, crouched down, Lance Corporal. Everybody's been a Lance Corporal twice or 3 times. And munching on crayons, right? There we go. So it was like, now we need to create a coloring book. After I'm done here, I'm going to be talking with somebody that is going to help publish a coloring book for Crayons Ready to Eat. So we're going to have a coloring book coming out. This is happening. It's like, holy crap. One thing after another, right? And all of a sudden, we're now getting an email that we're going to be on military.com. The biggest military website out there wants to do an article on us.
Nice.
On top of that, I still don't know about the food industry, about the co-packing industry or anything like that. I'm getting connected with a 21-year Navy veteran chef to Camp David and the White House and CEO of the Presidential Culinary Museum to help get us a strategic plan for co-packing, distribution, everything. So to meet our goal of by July to be able to start shipping went from this is now to this.
Wow.
A month's time frame from getting active highly in Warrior in Clubhouse to get into Warrior Council to now being to here for our July goal of to be able to be shipping is just phenomenal.
Just imagine what the next month could bring.
Exactly. If I had all the time in the world and not being at work, being here to be able to handle it, yeah, this is what I've done while working a full-time job. Now, mind you, in the beginning of September, in the beginning of February, what helped make this happen, the big push, is I contracted COVID. I came down with COVID. I tested positive. So I was home quarantined. And us in the military, we can't be doing anything. We got to be doing something.
Yeah, we can't sit on our hands.
So I immersed myself into getting connections and doing this and making things happen. So now I'm back to work, but I'm still making things happen. And it boils down to what we've learned in the military. Take action. You have a mission, you get it done, you get it completed. Boots on the ground.
Massive action, yeah.
Exactly.
And have a network around you. You have to build a network.
Exactly.
If you want to be successful, you got to have a team around you.
You have to. You have to adapt and overcome. And one of the things in the military we have is, I don't know how it is for you, but in the Marine Corps, we have battalions. We have platoons. We have squads. We have fire teams. They're in stages of 3. You have a fire team that has a leader that consists of 3 members. The rifleman, the saw gunner, and the assistant saw gunner. You have 3 fire teams that consist of a squad with 1 squad leader. You have 3 squads that consist of a platoon with 1 platoon leader. You have 3 platoons that consist of a battalion. So you see how there's connections of 3. Who's in front of you? Who's alongside of you? On the left and the right, who's behind you? Who are you learning from? Who is doing the same as you and that you're learning off of and helping each other with? Who are you mentoring and teaching up from behind? Right?
Yeah, that's almost the same format that we had in the Air Force, but I was security forces. I don't know about the rest of the Air Force.
Yeah.
We were the infantry of the Air Force, if you'll call us that. No pun intended for
No,
the infantry, but somebody has to defend the base and protect assets and people. Military police,
yeah,
defenders of the base, but yeah, we kind of had the same format: fire teams, squads,
yeah,
flights, etc.
exactly. So now we're here, and it's like all this is happening. It's like because we took action and networked, and it sounds cliche, and I never thought this. Like I said, I stepped away from the military. It's not your net worth; it's your network. It's who you surround yourself with and who you are getting yourself connected with. Now, I've made mistakes. I've done people wrong, and I'm working on making those mistakes right. But hold on a second.
Yeah, you definitely have a good point about power of a network. Because nobody in your shoes would have been able to achieve or get anywhere without a network, even from the very beginning with your partner, knowing somebody who could turn just the idea of a crayon into something edible and it can write. It's just, from the very beginning, you needed that team, that person that can help bring that vision to reality. So there's definitely a lot of power to that. And I know you gotta get running here pretty soon, but for everybody paying attention, you just got to have that network and you got to keep pushing forward. There's no other choice.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a matter of pressing forward and everything else. Um, hold on.
I think we got a little long-winded here. Did we make you a little behind for your next appointment?
Just a little bit. So I messaged him. But like I said, it's just a matter of jumping in there, making it happen, and don't take no. And don't take the first thing that comes along. Listen, get your ideas, get everything happening, get situated, and let's kind of figure it out and get more than one person's opinion. Get one more feedback. Like the doctor, get a doctor available. And why rely on one result? Get a second, third opinion. You know what I mean? You go look at a car. You buy the first car that you find. Sometimes you do if you got the money to drop onto it.
Yeah.
But you want to test drive it. You want to see how it goes, and everything else.
You definitely got to do your research. You got to see what else is out there in the market. Is it a good deal? Is it the place you want to buy from? You have to assess a lot of different things. So
yeah, exactly.
But that's awesome, Frank. And I appreciate you coming on here and kind of telling the story of your business because I think it's really relatable. There's a lot of people that may be on the entrepreneurship path that may be anywhere along that timeline. They could be in the beginning stages, the idea stages, implementation. One piece of advice I definitely have for them is get on Clubhouse if you're not on there. You need to get on there because these rooms are fairly small. Even in the Veterans Network, sometimes there might be 20 or 30 people in there. I mean, there's obviously much larger ones for regular people, but the Veterans Network is almost all veterans, military spouses, etc. But that's a great place to meet some people and have really good conversations. So before I get you out of here, though, I do have 3 questions. First question for you, Frank, I ask all veterans this. One piece of advice you'd have for somebody looking to get out of the military today.
Do not be a statistic of alienating yourself from your community, from your tribe. Okay? Soon as right before you get out, figure out where you're going, where you're going to live. Find out what organizations for the veteran community is there. Plug yourself in. Get into that tribe of the veteran community as much as you can. Do not walk away from us. All right. Next, whatever your business is, whatever your industry is, whatever your job is, surround yourself with a second tribe within that community, within those people to help better you in that job and that experience. Thank you.
What about advice? And that was good, by the way, because we want all of our brothers and sisters to be here tomorrow. What advice would you have for somebody who's young and looking to make a career of the military, looking to go in? Any advice for them?
don't take the first words your recruiter tells you to heart. Okay.
Remember, they're going to lie to you at some point in time.
Yeah. And figure out what you want to do. Most recruiters, and I will say most because I've talked to many people in this aspect, they have a quota to fill. They have certain jobs they have to fill. Look and learn what jobs are available in the military, because trust me, there are jobs that you don't even think exist in the military. I never had a clue that there was a journalist job that somebody had, go around just taking photos and doing, stories and stuff like that. You never, you got supply clerks that are doing things. You've got people in the armory. You've got, of course, the infantry. You've got, everybody's a janitor in the military, but, you have, there's just so many jobs. And don't count yourself out because you're maybe being an artist. I didn't go into the art industry, but take that art and go into the, the field where there's the arts needed. Music. Every unit, every military branch has a band. You can go in and do your music into the band and still do those things. So find out every job that there is available and find one that fits to you and what you want to do, and be adamant about this is what you want to do. Don't let the recruiter tell you what they want you to do.
Yeah, or what they think you want to hear, because they will lie to you. But the internet is so much more powerful these days than it was when I joined in 2006 or when you joined. There's information now. There's YouTube that's out there. You can find some information on some of these jobs. So use that to your advantage and kind of really educate yourself. So last thing I got for you here is give you an opportunity to give a shout out to any kind of veteran organization that you think is doing awesome things or, has been hugely impactful for you. See if you go the direction I think you go.
Well, I've already named, I don't know how many of them already. So let's reiterate many of them, because I'm not just going to do one. Bunker Labs Veteran Residence. I already explained that one to you. Learn about it, apply. There's a limited number. If you don't get in, apply again. Veteranpreneur Tribe on Facebook. The Warrior Council. Get into the Warrior Council. If you're a mil spouse, the Rosie Network. Get in there, get into the Rosie Network, get service. If you're a veteran-owned business, you can get your business listed on the Rosie Network. Okay? Get on to veteran-owned business. Get your business listed everywhere. And it's just one of those things. You got to be able to learn where your resources are and get plugged in. And if you're on Clubhouse, get into the Veterans Network Club. Okay? So I'm not just doing one.
No, hey, that's good.
And then
all about providing people value and resources. So that's a lot of good work there. I agree with all of them.
Exactly. And one of the things that I want to say is, on our website right now, we are not shipping our crayons. Going to give everybody a heads up. There is something in the works that either A, we will be having not your average traditional gift cards. You can go to anywhere and get an e-card, right? Crayons Ready to Eat is going to launch what is hopefully going to revolutionize business e-commerce e-cards for your business and everything else. We are introducing e-gift coins. You're going to be able to purchase gift coins for yourself or for others to use to purchase our product whenever or anything on our website. Once we're ready to ship, we're hoping to roll that out on Monday.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah. And
you're full of surprises, Frank.
Hey, also, we have an option on there. Eric Ranks has a phenomenal nonprofit program called Veterans Connect. If you go to our website and you purchase anything minus our apparel, because our apparel is handled by a third party, you can also donate to his organization, Veterans Network. Anything you purchase, you will see when you go to checkout, you'll see a donation button, and that goes to Veterans Network straight to Eric Rank's nonprofit organization. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate it, Frank, coming on here and kind of telling your story, the struggles, the triumphs, all that stuff. I think that really will speak to a lot of military and veteran people who are looking to be in the entrepreneur space and and realize that not everything's going to be easy and a smooth path, but you got to build that network around you and make it happen. So I appreciate that, and I'll drop you out of here before I play the final announcement. But once again, really appreciate it, and good luck. And I cannot wait to taste some edible crayons.
You will soon, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity of being on here. And you've gotten a larger story than most people have, and you've got the the new details of the dropping of the e-coins, the e-gift coins. So, but I just want to thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you again on the Warrior Council here next week.
Absolutely, we'll see you.
All righty.
Thanks, Frank.
Thanks.
All right, there you have it, folks. Edible crayons coming sometime this summer. They sound absolutely delicious. Maybe it's because I'm getting hungry. But stay tuned for the final announcement of the show here. All right, that's it for today's episode. Thanks, folks, for tuning in and taking a listen to what we got, what we had in store for you today. Appreciate you tuning in. Real quick before we leave, don't forget to go check out BattleBuddyPodcast.net. That's our website. Trying to constantly provide as much content and valuable stuff there as possible, from financial things to VA to just other resources that I can provide. So go there, check it out. And if you have any ideas, reach out to us for other things we can add to the website. And don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Go follow us on all those platforms so we can help get the message out. As you know, the goal here with this podcast is to help people, whether that's help people get a needle out of their arms and get themselves clean and back onto a productive path, or take the gun out of somebody's mouth, and help them deal with those demons and go on to live a better life, or get somebody on a path to financial freedom, or just bettering their life as a whole, right? The goal is to help our fellow vets, and that's something we should all be striving for. So help me get the message out. Be my battle buddies and go do that for me. Last thing I've got here is for those who might be at the end of their rope and feel like there may not be another option other than to become a statistic today. And all I got to say to you is don't. I want to be your battle buddy. You got tons of other battle buddies out there. We love and appreciate you. We do not want to lose another brother or sister today. So down at the bottom of the screen, if you're watching, I've got the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. That number is 1-800-273-8255. So make that phone call or contact a VA, contact your pastor. I don't care. Whoever that person or entity needs to be for you, make that phone call so you can be here with us tomorrow.